Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We hope you're setting a spot out on the radio dial. We have number 6 on the second thing on the car. I'm good with all that. We're having some fun around here. World Series in progress, perhaps over by the time you check this out. The Denver Broncos headed here. We also have a lot of election coverage this week. I did some skipjacks, old school talk. We do the Maryland Crab Cake Tour. It's all presented by our friends at the Maryland Lottery. I have Ravens scratch-offs to give away. I got dates in places. Like, we're going to be at Coco's on December 4th. We're going to be at Gertrude's on December 5th at the BMA. We're going to be at Fadley's on December 10th. Sort of a holiday, everything with the mistletoe, probably. And the 19th, we're going to be at Costas doing our big holiday show. But I'm working out in November because I was working through October. And, I thought Ravens are going to be like 15-2 before it's all, and then they go to Cleveland and lay a steamer. So we're talking Broncos here this week. I appreciate some of our Denver friends for coming together. Brandon Stokely's going to be here this week, and some other friends as well. If you hear Finn McCusker from Mama's on the Half Shell, it's all from the Crab Cake Tour here this week. But Sean Drotar is one of those guys that's come to me from the Mile High City. I love Denver. Love coming out there. Got good memories, bad memories. I remember Peyton Manning out there. I remember Peyton Manning out there. Peyton Manning remembers us. We've had good days, bad days. I got Mike Cleese coming on. I'm talking about John Elway, who was drafted here. We had all of this stuff going on. And I'll be honest, Sean, I like Sean Payton. And, I want to take the Broncos seriously as the Orange Crush that will rise again in honor of Craig Morton and, all these other legends. But I haven't paid attention to the Broncos. And we were all like smelling our purple selves around here, when you're 5-game winning streak. And the slap of water that was Jameis Winston for the defense here leads me to be a little bit more focused here this week. Even though I am focused on the American election, I can walk and chew gum. It's good to have you on. I needed to get some recon on the Broncos because they're 5-3, and all I really see is sort of a little bit of red zone here and again. I'm sort of impressed by Sean Payton's pretty good at what he does, huh?
Yeah, it turns out not surprisingly that all those wins aren't, by luck. And it's nice to be able to join you. We haven't been able to do this in a little while, so nice to catch up. But yeah, look, you look at this game on the schedule this week, all of a sudden. You looked at it a couple months ago, and you're thinking, okay, for both sides, on the Denver side, on the Baltimore side, you're like, well, we know who's going to win that one. And look, we probably still do. But all of a sudden, you're talking about both of these teams being 5-3, surprising for both clubs, quite frankly, to be 5-3. And there's no question that the Broncos don't have the playmakers the Ravens have, and we can get into that as we break this game down a little bit. That's part of it. But they are sort of getting it done, and they're getting it done with a legitimately very good defense. The Broncos in rushing yards against per game are ranked 7th in the NFL in passing yards against. They're 5th in total yards against. They're 3rd by any measure. You're talking about a very good defense, and it's impressive because the defense only has one first-round pick on it. Of course, that's the electric Pat Surtain, the second, another interception in his last game. Obviously, one of the elite players in the NFL, but that's the only first-round guy on that entire Denver defense. They're getting it done in waves. They're getting it done with a lot of different pressure brought from a lot of different angles there. And it makes things interesting. They've had to do the job because Denver's offense is a work in progress. The running game, they haven't quite solidified that. Javonte Williams still coming back from that very serious knee injury he had a couple of years ago, where he tore more than the ACL. He tore all the CLs except for the PCL. So he tore 3 of those, and he isn't quite back to full burst. But this is a team that's trying to figure out what it is behind Bo Nix. I think they made the right choice by starting him day one. I think that was evident the second they got him in, that this is Sean Payton's guy. However, he is not Drew Brees. And even at times, Sean Payton has had to be able to check that, throwing too many passes in a lot of these games. Obviously, the last game against the Carolina Panthers, a team that they knew they could beat, a team that's in absolute disarray. Andy Dalton misses the game. He's hurt following the car accident that he had suffered earlier in the week. But the Broncos do get it done. They basically set up a game plan where Nix gets a chance to throw the ball as much as possible, get some confidence, get some timing. And it seems to have shown because he has gotten better. What I like about Nix, you talked a little bit about baseball, about the World Series. Nix really didn't have a huge baseball background, but he's got that good mindset that all good, say, relief pitchers have, right? Sometimes you're just going to throw one and it's going to go 450 feet. What are you going to do? Are you going to fall apart? Are you going to say, hey, whatever? The other guy gets paid too. I'm going to go back out there and get the next guy. Nix has that kind of mentality. He has a bad drive. He has a bad play. He makes a mistake. He flushes it fast and goes back and approaches things fresh. 3 touchdown passes and a rushing touchdown in the previous game. That finally got him above water, though. This is a guy that threw fewer than 5 interceptions in his final year at Oregon. He already has 5 this year with the Broncos. And even though the Broncos are 5-3, Nestor, keep this in mind, their combined wins for their opponents in which they've beaten, Tampa Bay being the big name, 11-29. So it's not as if they've knocked off a murderer's row of opponents. This is a 5-3 team, but let's face it, at the moment, it's a soft 5-3.
Well, and then the Chiefs next week on your side, right?
Right.
Sean Drotar is here. He's with Mile High Network. Tell everybody what you do, so we can get to that. It's been a little while since we've had you on, so I want to do a little revisionist history here.
Yeah. I'm with Mile High Sports out in Denver. We've been around for just about 25 years, doing basically everything you can imagine in Colorado sports. The magazine right over my shoulder there, our latest with Bo Nix on the cover. So we've made a magazine for more than 20 years as well. So we do print, we do online, we have videos. I host Mile High Sports Today with my co-host Nate Lundy. We host that both live on video and then on the radio as well. That goes through drive time in Denver out of Mile High Sports. So it's a great place to be, and it's obviously a very busy sports city out in Denver. You know, you have basically all the stuff going on at once, so it's never a dull moment. And now, even besides the Broncos and the Buffs, pardon me, the Broncos and the Nuggets of the Colorado Avalanche, you're now talking about the Colorado Buffaloes being ranked number 23rd in the nation with Deion Sanders coaching that. I am a Buff alum, so obviously that's a treat for me as well to have an opportunity to see that program make a little bit of noise. Never a dull moment in the Mile High City.
Dion, we'll get to him in a minute. He spent some time here. He came out and did my show on a Monday night back in 2004, sort of famously with Cordell Stewart wearing mink coats in Parkville.
Another
And
Colorado Buffalo, of course,
there's
Cordell.
there's great video there. There's pictures. There's audio of the conversation. But it was 20 years ago, and to see what's happened to Prime, all these years later. Shawn, I want to bring it back, and I said a little bit of revisionist history. I think of the Broncos as sort of sucking, and then Joe going there, and then you know changing leadership, and problems at quarterback, and Danger Russ, and it not going so well at all 2 years ago, and leadership problems, just all of that, and the death of Bolin, and just what has happened since I was out in Santa Clara that night when Cam Newton didn't want to win and didn't want to fall on the ball, and seeing Peyton ride off on the white horse, and Von Miller, and what that was at that moment for Denver, coming full circle on the disappointments of John Elway, the triumphs of John Elway, all of that, and now the leadership of John Elway. And we had that here with Ozzie Newsome, albeit from the Brown side, where they still can't figure it out, but they beat our ass the other day. The last, I don't know what, 5, 6, 7 years of Broncos history has been this sort of, are you guys about to become the Browns? Is there things about to
Mhm.
really not go well there? And then you spend all of this money on Sean Payton, but the Raiders spent all of that money on John Gruden, and in places like Pittsburgh, Baltimore, even in New England where they kept Belichick and now they can't figure it all out, that there is something to be said for some continuity. And quite frankly, Sean Payton did a week of Super Bowl radio with
Mhm.
5 feet away from me on Radio Row in LA. He had his daughter there. She's nice. Her boyfriend. I was talking to them, talking to Sean Payton. He's doing whatever gambling stuff everywhere. The big tent was out after doing 3 decades of Super Bowl radio. It was the last Radio Row I've done. I do a charity thing now, Super Bowl week, instead of doing all that other crap. But he didn't seem like he was going to go back to work. Like, it shocked me that he took the gig in the same way, I guess, Francona taking a gig at Cincinnati. I mean, I had dinner with Marvin Lewis 6 weeks ago. He's running around with the Raiders. I'm like, sort of like, dude, at some point, are you going to turn it off? Some of these guys can't turn it off, and some of them, it's what they do. It almost makes me think Belichick could go back and have like a Vermeil run in him quickly if he had the right spot in some sort of weird way. Because once you know how to do it, I mean, it feels like to me this is about leadership and about finding the right guy to sit in that seat, and we'll figure the quarterback out and all the rest of it.
A little bit, and I think you're right. I think, quite frankly, even Sean Payton was surprised at how quickly he came back. I think had he realized he was only going to take a year to recharge, he probably would have just sort of asked the Saints for a sabbatical and come back and probably would still be their coach. But I think it surprised him to realize how much he missed it. And he finds himself looking for a gig. I think that he believed that the Dallas Cowboys would be open. The Dallas Cowboys might be an option for him. Turns out they weren't. For all the things that you can say about Jerry Jones, you cannot say that he has a quick trigger when it comes to firing head coaches. And Peyton is sort of left without a team. The first meeting with Peyton and the Broncos did not go well. Part of the new ownership, Condoleezza Rice specifically, reportedly got the sides back at the table, and there they are. The challenge, of course, was before they landed Sean Payton, they landed Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson just does not play the kind of style that Sean Payton wanted to play, and it's not really the guys were just oil and water. And there's not a right or a wrong. Obviously, I don't think anything badly about Russell Wilson. I think that sometimes he has a tendency of being a bit of what when you hear Russell Wilson talk, it's a bit of what if you were to ask a chat GPT, hey, plug in what a quarterback should say about this week's game. That's what you'll get out of Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
This
it
sort
felt a
of
little diva-ish to me. I mean, I've been here in
yeah.
Baltimore a long time. I've seen Vinny Testaverde. I've seen Jim Harbaugh. I've seen Joe Flacco, and I've seen Lamar. I mean, like, there's a different flavor for every, and it
Mhm.
has to work. The coach and the quarterback, it has to work, right? Like,
Yeah, these two,
and
it did not. I mean, there was no circumstance. It was really obvious from day one. Russell Wilson's style of play that had led him at least, to what looked like a Hall of Fame track before getting to Denver is a guy that tends to go off script. He holds the ball, he rolls out, he's looking for a deep shot down the sideline. That's just not how Sean Payton likes to play. He likes to use the middle of the field. He wants to get the ball out quickly. That's the style of play that he prefers. Now, he doesn't have that roster that he had Saints with the Broncos, and they are especially short on top end playmakers. But Bo Nix sees the game the same way. And when it was obvious that Wilson's best success came when he was going off script from what Peyton wanted, this was just going to be something that wasn't going to work out. And it got ugly to the point where there was there have been multiple reports and they were confirmed that the Broncos had basically let Russell Wilson know, hey, we'd like you to waive your injury situation on your contract, which no quarterback in his right mind, no NFL player in his right mind would or should do. So Wilson obviously pushed back on that. And then they basically let him know, like, hey, we're just going to move on from you. And then now they are dealing with the first of 2 years, which will be the biggest dead cap hit in the history of the NFL. And it
well,
doubled.
until Cleveland gets along. Come on now,
I was
right?
about
I
to
mean,
say, until
right?
Deshaun
Yeah,
Watson
right,
this
right. I mean,
offseason.
like, so this is really the story for
Yeah.
me was they went all in on the quarterback, right? And
Fully guaranteed contract, remember,
went through
too.
two coaches, right? Like literally trying to figure that out. Three coaches, if you consider Peyton too, right? Because they went through
Mhm.
coaches quickly, and got the wrong guy in that seat, and they had the wrong coach and the wrong quarterback, and they went all in on the quarterback and threw him out. And you have to pay for that. When you go all in on the coach, I mean, Bishotti hated Billick here, just fired him and said, in Las Vegas, there were lawyers. It still are, I think. But when you go wrong on the quarterback, you feel like, as a fan, and I've been talking about this all week, all last week with all the Cleveland guys like you until they beat our ass, right, with Jameis Winston. And maybe you can win 7 games with Jameis Winston. Maybe you can win 9 games with Bo Nix, or I don't know. But there is a point where you feel like when you take the quarterback hit, you're going to hell in a handbasket and you're staring down 2-15 and you're trying to get into the popcorn lottery and having 2 years of awfulness to get Deion Sanders quarterback or whoever the quarterback's going to be. And here you guys are 5-3. That's kind of why I was like, Peyton's taking this situation. How quick can he turn this around? The cap hit's going to be hell. But there is a little engine that could when you can play with players below the cap. Look, baseball, that's 80% of the baseball teams try to do that against the Yankees and the Dodgers every year.
Yeah.
But it's in the NFL, it's not normal, right? I mean, and you're the first, Cleveland's the second, but this gives Cleveland hope that if they get the right this or the right that you can be 5-3 too at the turn. Because I think, as you sit here, Shawn, you're shocked they're 5-3, right?
I am. The over-under in Vegas on wins for the Broncos was 5.5. I thought that was just about right. They were going to be win 5 or 6 games. I am shocked to see them at this position. And the surprising part has been the road performance. They have 3 road wins. A team that is still comparatively young, that has a rookie quarterback, has 3 road wins. And the play of Nix is part of that. He's still a rookie. You will see him look like a rookie at times. But I think when you look at his numbers, when you look at the performance, when you look at the wins, the only rookie quarterback that's playing better, of course, is Jaden Daniels, who's been transcendent for Washington. I mean, there's a totally different level that he's on. But Nix has been the equal of Caleb Williams, essentially, at this point. Will it stay that way? I don't know. But it does show that, again, it is less about maybe just the quarterback and the coach. But as you pointed out, it's about the combination of the two. When we think about all the great Super Bowl teams that became dynasties, you're always thinking of the coach and quarterback combination. Throughout history, you think about Walsh and Montana or Walsh and Young. You go back to Landry and Staubach. You can go to Nolan Bradshaw. You can go to Belichick and Brady. You can go to any situation you want. Dungy and Manning. You call it. And Peyton and Breeze. And in this case,
Well,
Peyton has
nobody thought
guys
anything of
playing the same
Breeze. I
way,
mean, nobody wanted Breeze, right? Like he was like totally damaged goods, and it was almost like the career Jamie Moyer, right? Like just sort
right?
of unbelievable. And I would think the same thing for Peyton Manning. Like at the end, his neck was
Mhm.
bad. Like all of that. There's always the risk reward for all of this and trying to figure out the quarterback. But like you guys took on Flacco. I mean, who was the guy that was dancing on the sidelines? And I always see the funny meme. I mean,
Drew
I
Lock.
can't even name the right. I can't even name the 6 quarterbacks that came along. And then like Shanahan figures it out with Brock Purdy, right? Tom
Mhm.
Brady's a 6 round pick, is going to the Hall of Friggin' Fame. So it doesn't always have to be a 1-1, even though we saw how much damage Jameis Winston can do in a game, right? But I am intrigued by what's going on there, that they could even beat bad teams on the road, as you've pointed out. Like to be 5-3 is really coach of the year stuff, as far as I can tell.
Well, it might be. Obviously, the AFC is not stacked up the way I think any of us envisioned it. Some of the teams that were expected to be in the mix, of course, Miami's had its issues, injuries, part of that. Cincinnati is kind of hanging on by a thread, despite the fact they're a remarkable 0-4 at home. That was a team that we thought would make noise. The Chargers look okay, but haven't really gotten all their ducks in a row under Jim Harbaugh. So the AFC is also a little bit topsy-turvy. So for the Broncos, it's an opportunity, and they're doing it the old-fashioned way. They're leading with a really, really good defense. In 5 of their games thus far, teams have not gotten to 20 points on them. Only because of a garbage touchdown at the end of the Carolina game on Sunday, the Broncos have held teams that would have held teams to 10 points or fewer in 4 of those games. So the defense has been very good. Some of it's been the opposition. They haven't played a Baltimore yet. But yeah, in Peyton's case and Nix's case, there is an accountability about Sean Payton. There are things that can be difficult with Sean Payton. He's definitely one of those guys that he's the smartest man in the room. And if you have any questions about that, you can just ask him. He'll tell you. And that can rub people the wrong way for sure. But he does coach consistently. And one of the messages you get from the Broncos is the understanding that he's gotten this team to believe that when we win or when we lose, it's because what we do, not what the opponent does, that makes that difference. And I think that accountability does have value, especially on a young team that hasn't won anything. The Broncos have had the longest stretch of playoff-less seasons since winning a Super Bowl of any team in the history of the Super Bowl era. No one's ever won a Super Bowl and then vanished from the postseason for as long as the Denver Broncos have since winning Super Bowl 50. So they're in unprecedented territory. And then when you get Peyton in there and things start moving the right direction, yes, he's overhauled the roster, not only in the first year, but in the second year now. The majority of the 53 guys are really guys that Sean Payton has brought in over the last 2 off seasons. And that tends to show. I mean, you run into some familiar names. Lil Jordan Humphrey, who follows Peyton where he goes. He coached him in New Orleans. Humphrey is now the number 2 receiver for the Broncos, while Josh Reynolds recuperates. So you're seeing some familiar names for sure. But there is a kind of a new vibe here. And in Nix's case, it's interesting. I kind of charted him out as being a Derek Carr type of quarterback, highly accurate, can move a little bit, but is not out there to make a lot of noise with his feet. But the truth of the matter is that he's gotten at the NFL level, he looks, quite frankly, a little bit more stylistically similar to Jalen Hurts of Philadelphia, in which the legs are definitely part of the equation. He's not going to be a run first guy, but he's going to be a run often guy. He's opportunistic. Nix does have a good instinct of when to go ahead and run, and he gets a lot of first downs. He converts an awful lot. So there's some similarity there. And I think opening that up is interesting because that is a kind of quarterback that we haven't seen Sean Payton coach, at least with much success. And we haven't seen him basically have a lot of success of anybody besides Drew Brees, although he did put up a 9-win season with Jameis Winston, one of those years up in New Orleans as well. But we've never really seen him with a mobile guy. And moreover, this is also new. Prior to Bo Nix, only one rookie has ever started even a game for Sean Payton. Ian Book started a game for Sean Payton, lost that game. That's the only time prior to Nix's start to begin this season that Sean Payton's ever had a rookie quarterback start an NFL game. So watching Payton when Nix work together is fascinating. And I think for Payton, quite frankly, he appears to be a little revitalized, not only from that year off that he took, and he's a new place in Denver, but now he's got his quarterback. He understands that his legacy in Denver is now tied to the success that he and Nix will have together. But it honestly seems like he's enjoying getting back to some old school, get your hands in the dirt, work with the guy and coach a quarterback up. And Peyton seems recharged and revitalized, and it seems to impact not only Nix, but the Broncos as a whole.
Mile High Sports. Sean Drotar's here. He's in out in Denver, Colorado. The media scene in Denver, maybe it goes back to the Post and the Rocky Mountain News. Always, even around the Avalanche, there was always tough columnists there. There was always Woody Page, and there's always something going on there. And now Dion floats into the cosmos there as part of all of that. When the quarterback and the coach spit on each other and 3-4 games in, and the kid's a kid, and the other guy's probably going to the Hall of Fame, and they have press conferences, and it's comedic to some degree, and they're winning football games. That's an interesting little dynamic to be a reporter on in the Sunday evening after that, or taking phone calls, as I only did here for about 23 years.
Yeah, it really is because now that the Buffs they won their sixth game, they are bowl eligible, and in Sanders' case, obviously it's fascinating because this was sort of the great experiment, right? There were only two D1 schools, or what we used to call D1 schools, that were really interested in giving Deion Sanders a head coaching job out of Jackson State, even though he did a brilliant job there, and that was Cincinnati, who the Buffaloes just beat last week, and Colorado. Colorado was willing to give Sanders what he wanted, which was a large pool for the assistants because Deion Sanders doesn't call plays, right? Not on offense or defense. He's sort of a CEO coach. He's the ringleader. He's the guy, he's the circus master who's running all of it and sort of your front man of the band. And so he does a very different role. That was a risk
Sort
for
of like
Colorado.
David Lee Roth as opposed to Sammy Hagar playing the guitar. A
Yeah,
little bit,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Less
That's
musician,
good.
a little more of
Yeah.
a showman, right? And I think when you saw what
Bosdy, Bosdy,
Sanders did,
Bop, Diddy Bop. Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
The
Hey, the best part about Dion, I'd be really honest with you, and he was fine here. I mean, he came out,
mhm,
did my show. I'm not anti Dion, like at all. It's sort of like Queen. I loved Queen, and then I listened, and I got Queened out. Like people got Phil Collins out. Period.
yep,
I completely stopped watching the NFL Network because it was too much Dion. So I love that Dion has a gig where it just doesn't come to me. So even you talking about it, it's the first time I've thought about Dion Sanders, other than when he shows up in a TV commercial, which there's a lot of that. Quite
there it
frankly,
is.
still plenty of that. I find the whole NIL, the whole I'm 56 and I think it's just gone from me. You know what I mean? I don't know what to say, but you're talking about it all. I don't know any of it. So please do tell. I know there's a circus around it, and I
Oh
know his
yeah,
kid and all of that, and I know the circus came to town for you and for everybody there, but I don't really understand. We had Maryland kids here storming the field when they beat USC, not South Carolina, the other USC, but not OJ Simpson or Matt Leinart or anything good. A 3-3 team. So like I am, and then I'm laughing at it, and they're all yelling at me. It's the most viewed thing I did on social media this month was apparently take a side swipe at College Park for storming the field when they beat a 3-3 team that
right.
wasn't even Duke. I'm kidding. It's a Maryland joke. But like, it is amazing the mindset that's gone on, how young people would view Deion Sanders and what is education, what used to be the NCAA, what used to be Division One, what used to be bowl games, what used to be student athletes. I I don't know, dude. You're there, but you have the biggest circus in the country, right? Like literally.
Yeah, and obviously, people have kind of they're either excited about it or they want to see it fall on its face. This experiment up in Boulder, and it seems to
And
me
you're a
no.
Boulder guy.
Yeah. I am I'm a former Buff myself, and I'm actually the press box announcer for Colorado football. So I'm familiar
Now,
with the
so, but
football
how many
as
years you
well.
been doing that?
This is just year two for me.
See, I would say this, man. Like Boulder's a place with Mork and Mindy, right? Like
Right.
I have been once in my life to Boulder. I spent 2 days there, and I told my wife I don't want to leave. I said I would
Oh
live
yeah.
here, and they're very, very, very few. I've been all over the world, and I don't. I rarely think I'd live here for a while. Boulder, and I haven't been back. But I did the Mork and Mindy in the stadium, and I've had chances to see the Dead there and chances to see football games. I woke up in Denver one day, and they were playing like some crap ball, San Jose State. They're playing somebody no good, and that was
Mhm.
years ago. And it looked to me like I could have gone down and had a lunchbox. There were 20,000 people. There was nobody there, right? Like, am I
Right.
right or am I wrong that in the
You are
last 20
100%
years,
right.
yeah, there was like
100% right.
I could have gone to a game there. I kind of regret it, I mean, I've never been to the stadium there, Mork and Mindy and all. Like, I want to go. I had chances, and I just haven't been. The day I went by there, I went to the Snooze AM. You can wink at me, good pancakes when you have them. I went to the Snooze AM 3 blocks from campus. They were having like a big thing there. And I think there might have even been a concert there that night, but I was going back to Denver for a game. Like, I love Boulder. And I think that the circus that's come there is, I don't know. I just don't like Dion enough to want to be in on it. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I'm glad you're having fun with it, Sean. I really
It
am.
is fun, and in Colorado's case, it was smart because this we're talking about a team that when they hired him, that was a one-win program. One. I mean, you are irrelevant. Colorado is one of the few teams, and over the years, I get it. There's a lot, but Colorado won a national championship in 1990. That's obviously a long time ago, but they have one on their resume. There are a lot of universities that don't, and for a long time, for about a 10 to 15 year span surrounding that, that was a regular, not only top 25 team, a regular top 10 team. It was an outstanding program, and it fell
Chad
into.
Brown reminds me every time we spend
Yes,
time together.
yes, of course. Yes, absolutely. He's
Only
right to do
dude who was a
so.
Steeler. No, I'm not making that. Nah, I love Tomlin. I love Rod Woodson. He was a great Steeler. That's all I'm saying. And a
He
real buff.
was.
I mean, a real buff,
Yes, national championship buff, as a matter of fact, on that team. But that's a one-win team. And so they could gamble on just letting Deion Sanders take the reins and say, do what you do, because we can't go backwards. And what it worked for Colorado immediately is the fact that no matter what they paid Deion Sanders, they could not have envisioned, even if they had just had a big pile of money and said, raise the awareness of the University of Colorado, raise the awareness across the country. You couldn't have done it any better with 10 times the money they paid Deion Sanders to get the word about the University of Colorado out across the country. Every single game this year has been on national television. All but one has been in prime time. For the remainder of the year, every single one of their games is going to be on national television. That's hard to do. And you've been to Boulder. It's scenic. It's gorgeous. There isn't there are great college mascots. There are great traditions. And I won't say it's necessarily better than all of them, but I won't tell you that there is one that is better than watching Ralphie run at the beginning of a game, a legitimately live buffalo dragging a handful of frat boys around a lap around the stadium. There's not much more entertaining than that in college football. And
I
the
had
vibe
great
is great.
pizza in Boulder. If you get good pizza there, it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
great place in Boulder,
So, I mean,
Colorado.
it's really a fun scene, and you go from one win. And last year, when they started out so well, and then the wheels came off, they looked at it and said, "Oh, they're 4-8. See, Dion's a fraud." Well, the problem was 5 of those losses were by one score, and I think people missed that when they were looking at it. And so this year, now all of a sudden, they're 6-2. They could have easily been 7-1 if they got a little bit luckier against K State. And now they're going to be going to a bowl game. Even if that's not all that impressive for you, take Deion Sanders' name out of it and say that your school that has not been relevant on national landscape in 15 years, and say in 2 years you'll go from one win to bowl eligible. You'd be saying, wow, that's a great turnaround at that program, no matter what name is attached to it. The
And if
name
you
just
turn it
happens to
around
be
as a
Deion
great coach at
Sanders.
Fresno State, nobody notices. That's the problem, right? Like when
Yeah.
it's Dion in a major market like you, when all of the people that follow Denver sports for Sport Town start to pay. Hey, we have that problem here at Maryland. I mean, Under Armour, if Bisciotti could buy Maryland, he would have, right? He said
Mhm.
that to me, right? It's in my book. Like, and Under Armour and all of that money, and they can't Nobody in Washington cares. Nobody in Baltimore cares. It's really a strange thing. And I would say Boulder would be that way, that like we got the Avalanche, we got the Nuggets, we got the Mountains, we got Red Rocks, we got legal cannabis, we got things to do here. We're not driving down to Boulder to see them play Washington State to lose 48-17. Like I like literally I didn't go to a game. They're playing, might have been UMass or something,
Oh
somebody
yeah.
really weird and awful. And I'm like, and it was 38 degrees because it's
And you would have
friggin'
had a
Colorado,
section. You would have had a section all to yourself. And one thing about Boulder is you're right, you've been up there. It's 38 degrees, but it's 38 degrees in Boulder and it's windy. And that wind, it cuts right through you. So in the winter, it is something. But yeah,
Maybe
you're
I
right.
don't like Boulder as much as I think, Sean.
Well, you'll have to come back and give it a try for
My
sure. It is definitely a
Venezuelan
different
blood.
animal in the winter, but it's fun to watch, and it's just great to have that be part of the landscape as well. How long it lasts, I don't know. I don't think Deion Sanders is going pro. There's always the idea, the talking heads at ESPN every single week can't come stop themselves from talking about where Deion should go next. The funny thing is, if you're Deion Sanders, um, why go anywhere else? You've now built this program into a top 25 program. Colorado entered the polls at 23 this week. You've built it into a top 25 program. The program lets you do things the way you want, how you want. Deion Sanders has his own video team that's following him 24/7, including on the sidelines. You want to invite the top rappers in the world to be on the sidelines and hang out with you. You want The Rock to be there, whoever, sure, go for it. You want Kevin Durant to stand next to you during one of the games? Yeah, go for it. He was there a couple of weeks ago. So they let him do that, and the city has completely embraced him. And there is something to be fair about Colorado, right? This isn't Georgia. This isn't Alabama. This isn't Ohio State. This isn't, if you're not competing for national titles, we're ready to get rid of you. This is Boulder where, hey, we'd love you to hover around the top 25, make some noise every 3, 4 years, and you're good. For Deion Sanders, he can't find a better place to be. And so the idea that he's going to hop somewhere else, he's not going to go to the pros because he's not a pro style coach. Like, doesn't call plays. That's not going to work. And in the pros, you can't just go, hi, I'm Deion Sanders, and people are going to fall all over themselves. And the pros, they don't care. They make more than you. They've done, that doesn't matter. He's got to stay in college. He knows that. So, that's kind of funny. And I think for Boulder and for Colorado, people are just enjoying it as it goes, however long it lasts. We know that Shadur Sanders is going to go pro. He's going to be a high first round pick, possibly the first quarterback selected. Travis Hunter, if he doesn't win the Heisman, as a remarkable two-way player, is also going to be a first round guy. What will he do to replace that? We will see. But it's fun. It's an awful lot of fun. And so all of a sudden now, with the Broncos being interesting again, and certainly the arrow is going up again. This program looks like it's going in the right direction for the Denver Broncos. They're going in the right spot. Sean Payton has them moving in a way that makes sense. And I think that's awfully exciting. So it's fun time to be a sports fan in Denver. But this game between the Ravens and the Broncos, the Ravens are better. They have top end playmakers that are better. The Broncos are woefully short on top end playmakers. If the Broncos have to score 26, 27 points to beat the Ravens, it's not going to happen. But
Well, you
you
haven't
have
seen the
seen,
Ravens defense lately. I mean, there've really
right,
been some leaky issues here.
right.
My
The
question on the game is, how do the Broncos contain Lamar? How do they tackle Derrick Henry? How to trap Lamar back in the pocket the way all the Jim Schwartz has made a diet
mhm,
on that over the weekend, and having the players to do it and match up. I mean, the Ravens have been, you know, they've lost to the Raiders. They've lost to
yeah,
the Browns. There's no reason here to be smelling themselves any longer, or for you to say. You said earlier, I wrote this down because I listened to you. A Baltimore. The Broncos haven't faced a Baltimore, and I'm thinking, I don't even know what that means. I mean,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Especially defensively, where they've really not played well at the end. I mean, the Dallas game at the end, they played great in the Buffalo game. They had a couple of games where things were firing for them. And then the injuries have taken, that's one thing Luke and I would talk about. We spent a segment 2 weeks ago, it must have been the Nestor Jinx, talking about how healthy they were. And then all of a sudden, no Humphrey, no Wiggins. Simpson can't play right now. Travis Jones is hurt on the defensive side. They have no pass rush. That was very obvious again. Then they lose to a guy who hadn't played football in two years, and a program where they just cheered their $250 million quarterback getting hurt, and a road game that they were heavily favored in. And now they come home. Denver Sunday, Cincinnati Thursday. They got a lot of football here the next couple of days. So when you say Baltimore, I'm trying to figure out what that means, Sean.
Yeah, well, I think at the beginning of the year, I looked at the Chiefs and the Ravens and the 49ers, to my mind, is the three best teams in football. And I thought there was a big gap after those three to the other ones. But you're right. I mean, the loss to the Raiders was probably a bit of a canary in the coal mine where you realize, wait a minute, this isn't going to be as easy as a lot of folks thought it would be. And then this loss, and you bring up the Dallas game, a good point too, a game that was one-sided as can be, and somehow it ended up being closer than it ever had any rights to be. So yeah, the defense has been problematic. It gives the Broncos a puncher's chance, to be sure. And a guy that is as creative as Sean Payton, and now that you have a Broncos team that's got some confidence and understands no one's expecting them to win this game. It's not the same as it's college kids where you're saying nobody, everyone's counting us out, blah, blah, blah. It's the pros. Anybody can beat anybody. All you have to do is watch the most recent NFL weekend to find that out. But yeah, it will be interesting. Were the Broncos to win it, obviously things really change in Denver. The dynamic becomes, wow, could this team make the playoffs? And at that point, it becomes, you absolutely must make the playoffs. You can't go 6-3 and not have the playoffs be your goal. But yeah, it will be fascinating. I do think the Broncos have the ability to limit what Baltimore can do on the ground. They are a good team against the run. They are stout on the defensive line. Adding John Franklin Myers from New York made a big difference. They are big. DJ Jones, Franklin Myers, Allen on the other side. There's some talent there. They have linebackers that fly all over the place. They have good safeties. I don't believe that you can stop both Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. I don't think that's possible. But can you limit them? Can you hold them a little bit back? Maybe. Just enough for the Broncos offense to maybe get a little bit lucky here or there.
Or if you stop them
If
on fourth
possible.
down, right? Get the ball
Mhm.
back, right?
Yeah.
Or you strip a ball, or you make a play, right? Like, I have no question they're going to move the ball. They've moved the ball against everybody. It's mistakes, guys jumping off, holding. When they're in 2nd and 1, they will beat your ass. When they're in 2nd and 19 because of their mistakes, or holding penalties or whatever it is, then all of a sudden it gets slippery. And
And you're
when they
playing into
don't,
the Broncos' hands in
yeah,
that
yeah,
case
and
because
and
the
that's how
Broncos are
they've
second
gotten
in
in
the league.
trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. Denver is second in the league in sacks. They bring pressure. Their pressure rate is high. They get it successfully. They get it from a lot of different guys. It's not coming from, say, a TJ Watt where everybody knows where the pressure is coming from. It comes from a lot of guys. Nick Bonito. They're probably Raven fans going, I have no idea who that is. Nick Bonito has sacks in 6 consecutive games. I mean, this is a team that brings a lot of pressure from a lot of different angles. They can bring it from the corners. They can bring it from the safeties. They have a lot of guys that get sacks. They go after the quarterback. The one thing I would say against the Denver Broncos, you don't want to find yourself in the 2nd and long and 3rd and long because that plays right into their hands. They get the sacks, they get the pressures, and they are opportunistic when getting the turnovers. Both Surtain, obviously, we know how good he is, but keep an eye on Riley Moss, opposite of Surtain, one of the young up-and-coming corners who really, really looks explosive and talented. The Broncos can pick you off too. Turnovers, if the Ravens make those mistakes, turnovers can not only let the Broncos back into the game, they might be able to give the Broncos the game.
Sean Drotar's here. He is Mile High Sports out in Denver, Colorado, Rocky Mountain High. Hey, man, I can't wait to get back out the Red Rocks. I'm still plotting that. It's one of those things, like, my bucket list was the Northern Lights, and we got them outside my door 3 weeks ago. So now
Yeah.
I'm like going to like the Hollywood Bowl and maybe Royal Albert Hall, some things. But then I think of places like Red Rocks where I've been. I'm like, that's a place I got to go back. So Morrison, Colorado is always should be on everybody's bucket list to go watch a show on the hill out there and get out to Denver. But you guys are coming in this time. We'll have the crab cakes waiting for you here. We got legal cannabis here, but we don't have those mountains. I mean, you got things out there. We don't snooze AM. You guys got good stuff. We don't have Dion anymore, but we had him for a minute. But we hope for a good football game this week. I really appreciated the visit, and I look forward to visiting with you later on in the week.
Anytime. Thanks so much. Looking forward to it.
John Drotar can be found out at Mile High Sports. We can be found doing the Maryland Crab Cake Tour, courtesy of our friends at the Maryland Lottery. I'll have the Ravens scratch-offs to give away. We're in the middle of the Oyster Tour, the 26 days, 26 ways, 26 oysters for the Oyster Recovery Partnership. Curio Wellness, our friends, and foreign daughter, as well as Liberty Pure Solutions. 1-800-CLEAN Water is the way to do that. And Liberty Pure Solutions also great plumbers, but also they keep my water clean. I have well water. I don't have that Rocky Mountain spring water they have out there in Golden, Colorado. We got to make our water clean, otherwise that green stain going on. Liberty Pure Solutions takes care of my water treatment for my well water. Luke Jones takes care of our football. It's all brought to you by Jiffy Lube, as well as our friends at Royal Farms. Real fresh, real fast, and he'll be bringing real fast updates to you on the WNST tech service. You can get on that service 410-821-9678. Just text join or WNST, and you join up with 7,000 other people getting breaking news real fast. All of that brought to you by Cole Roofing and Gordian Energy. I am Nestor. It's big football week. It's an election week, reminding everybody vote responsibly. Please gamble responsibly, but please vote responsibly. I am Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We never stop talking Baltimore. Positive. Still don't like John Elway.